Good morning. We're going to get started with our Technomic Talks this morning. This is a series, as many of you may know, that is sponsored graciously by IFTA, International Food Service Distributors Organization, and it allows us to present our points of view and research on topics of great interest. And today we're going to be talking about the club store and cash and carry channel. I'm Bob Golden. My contact information is right there at bgolden at Technomic. We will not be taking questions during the webinar, but we'll be more than happy to answer any and all questions you might have. So feel free to email me or in the chat box on the bottom of the screen, write questions. So as I said, we are going to talk about club store and cash and carry together. We will show the differences between the different sub-segments as we go through the material. But it is a channel, so to speak, that has had a major impact on the food service distribution business. And it's exemplified by the following. If we break up the wholesale market or a $230 billion market, that's the food service distribution market in the U.S., 40% of that volume is the broadline power distributors, largest of which, of course, is Cisco and then U.S. Foods and PFG, and names you all know. There's 21 companies. They represent 40% of the market. The systems distributors, Martin Brower, McLean, Sigma, 16%. The all other, which is specialists and small distributors, are 34%. And then you get to the club store channel, and that is now a 10% share of the market. So if you look through what is that's doing the simple math, it's over 22 billion. And the numbers we're showing here by club operator are their food service sales. So this is not the total sales of the company. For example, GFS Marketplace is considerably larger. Smart & Final is a $3.2 billion company. So what we've done here is just shown you the sales of their food service, and the Restaurant Depot does not include, of course, the Jetro portion, which is more C-store. But I think a couple things that stand out here. One is how big a number of these players, both Restaurant Depot, Costco, and Sam's, again, the food service sales, puts them among the top 10 distributors in the country. Number two is how many options consumers have. 1,600. If you look at the total number of U.S. locations, and of course the Smart & Final includes their retail-oriented stores, Smart & Final and Smart & Final Extra, which do about 30-35% of their business in food service, and then the cash and carry food service stores. But again, here there are a lot of options for consumers. The other, we estimate it's almost $2 billion, and that includes BJ's, and then it includes distributors like U.S. Foods, which has now 4 stores open. Shamrock has 2. Maine's has 5. Waihata, just out of Hawaii, just opened 1. And then the terminal markets, which are very important. So we're looking at a $22+ billion segment with 1,600 locations. If you analyze who shops at the club stores, it's restaurants and bars, that again broadly defined, which would include food trucks, carts, snack stands. That's 80% of business. Almost all of that is independents, small independents and small chains. So again, this is the segment that has done a tremendous job appealing to and reaching that very fragmented but very large restaurant and bar segment. Pardon me. The all other will include resellers, caterers, church groups, daycare centers, nursing homes, and the like. Another way to look at the importance of this channel is independent operators. If you look at the group of independents, many of you know we just finished a new study, they account for about $65 to $70 billion in total purchases. About 25 to 30% of them are done at club stores. So again, club stores are already capturing a very large share of independent operator purchases. Another way to look at it is we estimate that at least 50, it could be as high as 70% of all independents shop there regularly or on occasion. So we're saying about 25 to 30% of their purchases, 50 to 70% of independent operators shop there. So again, tremendous reach that these club stores have. You look at the customer base, about 25%. This is a survey we recently completed with a large scale among independent operators. It underestimates the small ethnic, which are where there's language difficulties, hard to reach. So if anything, the regular and occasion figures will be higher. But over 91% of independents say they shop there, 23% on an emergency basis, and then occasional use 30% and regular use 38%. So these are pretty staggeringly high numbers, especially for those businesses interested in the independent market, which has been such a important part in terms of both profitability, brand loyalty, innovation, as you've heard us talk many, many times before. No surprise there, when you look at the club store and cash and carry business versus the industry and versus all other distributors, the industry over the last 5 years has grown at a nominal rate of about 2%. The club store cash and carry has grown at 4 times that rate, and we'll discuss some of the reasons why in a moment, with Restaurant Depot in particular growing at roughly 15%. Other distributors, in other words, have underperformed. If you look at the whole group of everyone else, and there's obviously a mixed bag in that, but club store outperformed. What are some of the reasons? And the key reasons for this, what we consider to be, which is obviously superior performance. One is more locations. All the club stores listed have expanded locations, and you could see the numbers. Costco is more than double the locations. Costco and Sam's have continued to grow units, Smart and Final, and so on and so forth. Very importantly is improved selection, especially in ethnic foods, perishables, and non-food arena, which are big, big drivers for many independent operators for reasons of price and convenience. We've seen the recession during the past 5 years, which has greatly heightened operator price sensitivity such that they have been much more receptive to venues and supply sources that provide them with the value they're looking for. And this is on an item-by-item basis, not just strictly on a market basket. So we've seen a very significant shift in where operators buy and what drives their decision, and price sensitivity, in our view, price remains extremely important, if not the most important selection factor, and will likely remain so. We have seen some improved business among operators, and as accordingly, again, the business is just better for everyone, and a rising tide will lift all ships. Broadliner practices, there are some very deep concerns among independent operators about how a price is determined, margin on certain products, pricing up after the business has had, lack of transparency. So I think there's, fair to say without being critical, but a number of the practices of the broadliners, including the costs associated with full-service distribution, which many operators, quite frankly, don't understand or necessarily value. So a number of these practices have put the broadliners in a somewhat of a vulnerable position. And I think, again, what we tend, and we have done a pretty extensive amount of work on the subject of customer satisfaction, club store and cash and carry customer satisfaction. Quite frankly, there are some irritants, namely front-end checkout procedure, but by and large, we have a very highly satisfied customer. They realize that there's some limitations to shopping at club stores, but they value the price, they value the selection, in many cases the convenience, which segues to my next point of why do customers shop? Why do operators shop there? Well, price is absolutely the biggest driver, and the customers that shop there can be classified as price shoppers, but in our point of view, most everyone is a price shopper these days. Want to point out, it is low prices, but it is also consistent pricing, and it is list or transparent pricing, which again are, in many operators' point of view, not provided to them by their broadline distributor. Selection, I mentioned earlier, the expanded selection of perishables, fresh meats, fresh fish, produce, ethnic merchandise, but also the ability to buy single unit and case or bulk options. Distributor voids is a reason. Out of stocks, do not carry selected items. Convenience, a vast majority, especially in major markets, of club store customers come within 5 miles or less, so it is looked at as a convenience option. Secondly, along the lines of convenience is the fact that there are no minimums, and they do accept credit cards. And these, again, are very, very important drivers to these customers and will continue to be. If we talk to the customers, the club store cash and carry, there is very high level of satisfaction, as I mentioned before. They realize, not to be repetitive, but they realize there are certain hassles associated with shopping at these big parking lots, long checkout lines, no distributor service in the sense of someone taking the order and putting, in often cases, putting away the order. But it is looked at as being a very comprehensive solution, especially for a lot of the very small operators, food truck operators, push cart operators, small bars and taverns. You can get anything you want. They value even small savings. So it is not market basket driven. If operators have told us, if I could save $10 a week on XYZ item, it's $500 a year. They're doing the mental math, and this is a business which continues, the independent operator business continues to be challenged. Highly competitive, so it is important. And very, very importantly, they leverage the pricing. They admittedly use the pricing at Costco or RD or any of the other players with their full-service distributors, and oftentimes are able to gain a lower price on selected items with their full-service, and the full-service distributors are aware of that. Their DSRs spend a lot of time playing defense. So the club store and cash and carry channel has put the broadline distributor in many cases on the serious defense. The broadline distributors try to counteract that with value-added services, but many customers don't value the value-added services, are not willing to pay for what's imputed in the cost for those. If we look at trends in terms of usage or just shopping, there's a couple things. 24% of the independent operators we surveyed say they're going there more often, but more tellingly, and I think this is the key statistic, 36% of them say they're increasing their purchases versus 15% who report less. So while there's no groundswell of frequency, mass migration, it does appear that the spending levels are increasing pretty considerably. So they are getting they are gaining the quote on penetration and getting the bigger ring from the existing customer base, and it leads to better same-store sales performance. Smart and Final is just filed an IPO. They were just about a week ago. It's available on the internet. They report their cash and carry side, their food service side, 6% same-store sales, 4% for the total company. So many other companies are reporting similar type of performance. So same-store sales, which are a big driver of economics, are very favorable. Planned club store use, again, no major groundswell, but slow but steady migration. 20% say they're going to be shopping more, 15% less. Among the 15%, we ask why. They basically say, well, my business is a lot better, and I can afford to have someone come and service me. But again, here we think that this is a business that has a lot of legs and will continue to expand and grow as customers recognize and appreciate the value and the transparency being provided. Looking forward, I think there's a number of things to keep in mind, and we believe that the business is going to continue to grow in the high single digits, 7, 8, 9% versus 3, 4% for the overall industry. So we think that they will continue to grow at twice the market rate. Certainly, there is going to be more locations. The market is not penetrated. Very significantly, the players who manage to crack the downtown or urban code, very much like Home Depot has and Target has and some other big box retailers. Restaurant Depot, for example, doesn't have any units in Manhattan. So new store formats are very likely. We think we will see new entrants. It's a business that is very attractive, and you know, lots and lots. It's no longer a secret. Expanded offerings, especially most likely into the service arena. But localization is going to continue to be a very important winning trend as many of the major broadliners go to centralization. The cash and carry operators are saying we don't want to go that. We will purchase centrally, but we're going to provide our units with the flexibility to localize the selection on us, even on a store level basis. And that is going to be especially to satisfy the needs of the diverse independent market where there's so much fragmentation in terms of menu types, local sourcing, and all this. So this is an area of big opportunity. Driving more business through existing footprints is clearly a major thrust. And it would not surprise us to see one of these players, or all of them, or many of them, move to a .com option as well, which can have some revolutionary impact. We believe the market is very ripe for online providers, be it Amazon Fresh, or Webstaurant, or Staples, or RD.com. So we think a number of these players could be again the existing club store on selected key items, move to online, which would serve as a growth accelerant. So we continue to be very bullish on the segment. We believe it has really been a disruptive force in the market, will continue to be, and we don't necessarily see any of the major broadliners having effective counter strategies in terms of direct competition. So they're going to have to work very, very hard on the customer service equation and the cocooning the operator. But again, here, we do think this is a pretty much of an irresistible force. It's going to continue to grow at very, very impressive rates. So that is that concludes the formal presentation. As I said, my email information is above. I welcome any and all questions. Do want to point out that we will be having our next Technomic talk on September 9th at 10 a.m. Same time, Central Daylight. Dave Hankus, one of our VPs, is going to talk about merger and acquisition activity in the food industry with a focus on food service. This talk and a recorded version will be available on our website in the next 24 hours, so we certainly encourage you to access. And again, appreciate the fantastic support we're getting from IFTA and from our clients. So thank you very much.